The United States is edging closer than ever to a direct conflict with Russia, a situation that's raising alarm bells across Washington, NATO capitals, and even within the American public. President Trump's remarks earlier today, combined with new Pentagon actions, have sent shockwaves through the global community. Just days ago, the Pentagon confirmed that it has officially authorized the transfer of Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine, a move that many see as a major escalation in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. What makes this especially significant is that President Trump has long resisted sending these missiles abroad, citing concerns over depleting U.S. stockpiles, escalating conflict with Moscow, and the difficulty of training Ukrainian forces to use such advanced weaponry. But now, things appear to have shifted dramatically. Reports indicate that the Pentagon's latest analysis concluded the U.S. could send a limited number of Tomahawks without jeopardizing national readiness. That assessment, coupled with growing international pressure, has opened the door for President Trump to act. Sources close to the administration say the president has not yet signed the final approval, but is seriously considering it in light of Russia's latest provocations. The bigger picture: escalation on multiple fronts. According to defense insiders, this decision comes at a time when the U.S. government is partially shut down and several branches of the military are operating under emergency funding. Critics say this is the worst possible time to be involved in another international conflict, but supporters argue that a strong stance is the only language Moscow understands. Adding to the complexity, President Trump also announced a new security agreement with China's President Xi Jinping, claiming that China will not attempt to invade Taiwan during Trump's presidency. President Xi understands that any action against Taiwan during my administration would be met with force, Trump reportedly told reporters at a closed-door briefing. That assurance removes one major flashpoint from global tensions, but it doesn't eliminate all threats. With Venezuela seeking Russian military assistance and Russian warships spotted near the Caribbean, U.S. intelligence agencies are warning that a multi-front confrontation could soon emerge. Nuclear tensions rise again. The most alarming development of all, however, may be the resumption of U.S. nuclear weapons testing. For the first time in more than 3 decades, President Trump has authorized plans to restart limited nuclear weapons tests as a direct response to Russia's reported missile experiments. Although Russian President Vladimir Putin denies that Moscow tested nuclear weapons, American intelligence and independent satellite imagery suggest otherwise. If Russia is testing, the United States will test, Trump said firmly during his announcement, signaling that the era of nuclear restraint may be over. The move has sharply divided Congress. Republican lawmakers say Trump is sending a strong message of deterrence, while Democrats warn that restarting nuclear testing could unravel decades of international arms control agreements. Some analysts even speculate that Moscow may be deliberately provoking Trump, hoping to push the U.S. into costly and politically divisive actions. The cyber threat. While most Americans think of war in terms of missiles and troops, Pentagon officials say the greater danger could come digitally. Russia has long been accused of launching cyber attacks against U.S. infrastructure, and experts warn that a large-scale attack on Wall Street, energy grids, or water systems could cripple the nation's economy overnight. The biggest threat right now isn't tanks or planes versus a hacker, said one defense analyst. A single cyber strike on our financial systems or power grid could cause more chaos than any bomb. With winter approaching, a coordinated attack on power or internet networks could cause massive disruption. Officials are quietly urging companies and agencies to increase cybersecurity protocols in anticipation of potential Russian retaliation. U.S. military buildup. In the meantime, U.S. military forces are expanding their presence in the Caribbean and Pacific regions, reportedly to monitor and intercept any vessels linked to Venezuelan or Russian operations. President Trump has publicly stated that these operations are designed to curb illegal drug trafficking, but insiders say it's also part of a broader effort to assert dominance in the Western Hemisphere. Satellite images show a steady buildup of U.S. naval assets in key locations. Intelligence officials believe this could serve as both a deterrent and a warning to adversaries that America is ready to respond to any threat, military or cyber. The Pentagon's move has not only shaken Washington, it's also sending shockwaves through Europe and NATO. Many allies, already stretched thin supporting Ukraine, are expressing concern that the U.S. could drag the entire alliance into a broader, more direct conflict with Russia. A senior NATO diplomat, speaking anonymously, warned, if the United States deploys Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, Moscow will interpret it as a direct strike capability against its territory. That's something we've avoided for decades. European leaders are now scrambling to coordinate responses. Germany and France are urging restraint, while the UK and Poland have expressed strong support for Trump's tougher stance. Tensions are rising in Eastern Europe, with reports of Russian troop movements near the Belarus border and increased air activity over the Black Sea. Even within the US military, there are divisions. Some top commanders reportedly support Trump's maximum deterrence approach, saying it will force Russia to back down. Others, however, warn that one misstep, one missile launch or miscommunication, could trigger a global chain reaction. Inside Washington, growing political divide. In Congress, the situation is creating one of the deepest divides of the Trump presidency. Republicans argue that America must project strength, not weakness. Senator Josh Hawley called Trump's move a necessary show of power in the face of Russian aggression. But Democrats are warning that Trump is playing with fire. Senator Chris Murphy said, restarting nuclear tests and deploying long-range missiles in Eastern Europe is a recipe for disaster. It's escalation disguised as defense. Behind closed doors, sources say several senior intelligence officials have urged the White House to prepare for retaliatory cyber operations and covert influence campaigns from Moscow. One source put it bluntly, Putin doesn't have to fire a single missile. He can shut down the lights, crash the markets, and throw the US into chaos, all without leaving Moscow. The economic fallout. Meanwhile, Wall Street is on edge. Since news of the Pentagon's approval broke, markets have seen sharp volatility. Defense stocks are surging. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman all spiked, while the broader market shows signs of unease. Economists warn that a prolonged geopolitical crisis could hit American households hard. Rising oil prices, potential trade restrictions, and cyber disruptions could send inflation soaring again, just as the economy shows signs of recovery. Energy analysts are especially concerned about what happens if Russia retaliates by cutting global energy exports or disrupting shipping routes. Gas prices could jump overnight. Some even fear supply chain interruptions if cyber attacks hit US logistics networks or ports. This isn't just a military issue, said one analyst. It's an economic time bomb that could affect every American family. The cyber war already started. There are already signs that the digital conflict may have begun. Earlier this week, several US federal agencies reported unusual cyber activity, targeting internal communication systems. The Department of Homeland Security has issued a Level 3 cyber threat alert, warning that critical infrastructure, including water, electricity, and air traffic systems, may be under surveillance by foreign actors. Cybersecurity experts say Russia could be mapping US vulnerabilities in preparation for a large-scale strike. This could include targeting Wall Street, social media networks, or even major news outlets to spread panic or misinformation. Remember the Microsoft and Amazon Web Services outages that disrupted large parts of the internet? Experts now fear similar outages could be engineered deliberately, not by accident. Venezuela joins the equation. While attention remains on Russia and Ukraine, the Venezuelan government is reportedly deepening its military cooperation with Moscow. Satellite imagery suggests Russian naval personnel have arrived in Venezuela for joint exercises, though some analysts believe they're establishing logistical support hubs for future operations in the Caribbean. This could explain why the US Navy has quietly expanded its presence in the region. Trump recently authorized new maritime patrols targeting vessels suspected of drug trafficking or arms shipments. But sources tell reporters that the true purpose may be to monitor Russian naval activity near US waters. This isn't just about drugs anymore, one defense official said. It's about establishing dominance in our own hemisphere. Russia's testing how far we'll let them go. Public reaction. Fear and confusion across the US. Anxiety is growing. Social media is flooded with rumors, maps of potential targets, and viral clips claiming an imminent world war. Grocery stores and survival supply shops report a surge in demand for food storage kits, generators, and emergency radios. Ordinary Americans are asking tough questions. Could a cyber attack shut down the banking system? Are nuclear weapons really being tested again? What happens if Russia retaliates inside the US? So far, the administration's message has been mixed. White House officials insist the situation is under control and that no American boots are going to Ukraine. But with troop movements, nuclear testing orders, and rising cyber alerts, few people are reassured. What comes next? As it stands, the next few weeks could determine whether the world steps back from the brink or tumbles into the most dangerous conflict of the 21st century. President Trump is expected to meet with senior military leaders and NATO officials later this week to decide whether to finalize the Tomahawk deployment. If he signs that order, experts warn Russia could retaliate within hours, possibly through cyber strikes or military provocations near Europe.